Let's begin today's video. Ancient pandemics in Africa. Archaeological surveys in West Africa, particularly in Ghana and the Limpopo River Basin in South Africa, have uncovered substantial evidence of epidemics that once had a profound impact on ancient communities. At the Akrakoa site in Ghana, researchers recorded the phenomenon of an urban settlement being abandoned in the 14th century, directly linked to the outbreak of an unidentified epidemic. Meanwhile, the Limpopo Valley reveals a sudden increase in infant mortality around the year 1000, as reflected by the large number of children's graves found in the archaeological layers. Anthropological and paleobiological analysis indicates that these communities had once thrived, developing stable systems of agriculture, animal husbandry, metallurgy, and trade before the onset of disease. The collapse in population and the emergence of deserted urban centers often coincided with layers of sediment rich in ash and animal bones, reflecting both social and medical upheaval. These observations help explain the reasons behind the decline of ancient urban centers in Africa and provide a broader comparative perspective when looking at ancient pandemics in the Middle East. Citing evidence from the city of Tuam on the Alinya archipelago off the Qarnayn Peninsula in the UAE, archaeologists have identified numerous mass graves alongside clear signs of population decline in the 6th century. This site is associated with legends of the fabled city of Tuam, once prosperous thanks to pearl trading and international exchange. The collapse of Tuam closely matches the timeline of the Justinian plague, one of the earliest outbreaks of the bubonic plague to sweep across the Mediterranean, North Africa, and the Near East. Genetic analysis of ancient skeletal remains from the area has revealed traces of Yersinia pestis, the bacterium responsible for both the Justinian plague and later waves of the Black Death in Europe. The impact of these ancient pandemics reshaped the demographic, economic, and social landscape across many regions of Africa and the Middle East, leading to waves of migration, cultural shifts, and changes in the patterns of ancient urban development. The discovery of epidemic traces in modern archaeological research is gradually shedding light on the complex interplay between epidemiology, the natural environment, and the evolution of the continent's earliest civilizations. Alien Mountain. Alien Mountain in Sri Lanka is a massive rock formation nestled amid humid tropical forests, distinguished by a flat summit that stretches out like an artificial plain. For a long time, this area has been known for numerous reports of unusual aerial phenomena, including sightings of strange lights or unidentified flying objects. Locally, the place is known as Danigala, one of the sites that has drawn many scientific expeditions focused on archaeology, paleontology, and geology. During explorations and studies, a team of scientists from the South Asian Institute of Paleoscience and Earth Studies conducted a thorough survey of Alien Mountain's northwestern slope. They discovered an extensive system of ancient petroglyphs, densely distributed along the natural rock faces. These carvings depict various forms, human figures, animals, abstract marks, and geometric symbols whose meanings have yet to be deciphered. Notably, many engravings are arranged in straight lines and organized patterns, prompting some researchers to suggest they could be records related to ancient astronomical observations. Analysis of rock samples and the cultural layers around the site indicates these traces date back to the late Paleolithic period, roughly between 12,000 and 30,000 years ago. Preliminary findings also suggest that the area may have been continuously inhabited or used for ritual and worship, based on the discovery of stone tools and remnants of ancient hearths in small caves near the engraved cliffs. However, the specific identity of the community that left behind these carvings remains a mystery, as no human remains or artifacts have been found that can be directly linked to any known ancient culture. From the patterns of these petroglyphs, some specialists hypothesize that the prehistoric people of Alien Mountain may have possessed rudimentary astronomical knowledge or developed their own system of symbols for social, ritual, or internal communication purposes. Still, these arguments require further archaeological data for confirmation. Regarding the hypothesis of extraterrestrial presence or influence, there is so far no objective scientific evidence to support this possibility. Observations of strange lights in the sky around Alien Mountain are still being investigated by atmospheric physicists, geologists, and astronomers. In an effort to determine natural or man-made causes, there is no proof linking them to extraterrestrial factors. Currently, the entire Alien Mountain area remains the subject of multiple interdisciplinary surveys, from archaeology and geology to studies on ancient environments and climate. Deciphering the system of ancient petroglyphs and fully determining the history and role of this site for prehistoric communities will require many more years of research, analysis, and collaboration between scientific organizations both within and beyond Sri Lanka. The reversal of time's flow. In modern physics, especially in the field of quantum mechanics, recent research has proposed hypotheses about the possibility that time can move in multiple directions, not just forward from past to future, as humans commonly perceive. Some physicists argue that, at the micro level of quantum particles, the structure and dynamics of matter allow for the existence of time-reversed states. Mathematical models in quantum mechanics demonstrate that certain quantum systems can evolve forward or backward along the timeline without violating fundamental physical laws. This phenomenon has appeared through measurements and observations of basic particle systems, where a wave state can return to its starting point if there is no external observation interfering. However, in larger-scale material systems, this effect is nearly impossible to detect due to interference factors and the process of information loss, which always pushes time forward. Although theories about time reversal have attracted significant interest from the scientific community, there is still no direct experimental evidence confirming this phenomenon outside laboratory conditions or at macroscopic scales. For humans, time continues to flow in only one direction, defined by the sequence of events from past to present and future. Research into the reverse flow of time at the quantum level not only raises questions about the true nature of time itself, but also broadens our understanding of the fundamental laws that govern the universe. It hints at the possibility of physical phenomena far beyond the limits of direct human perception. This topic remains a key area of inquiry in theoretical and modern quantum physics. Tales of monsters on glacial rivers and frozen lakes. Across the icy lands of Alaska, Canada, and the snow-covered mountain ranges of Japan, stories of strange creatures appearing on the surfaces of frozen rivers and cold lakes have become the subject of interdisciplinary research among modern ethnologists and biologists. These phenomena not only reflect the unique features of local ecosystems, but also reveal a deep connection between natural conditions and the development of indigenous belief systems. In Alaska and Canada, reports of serpent-like beings or monsters moving across the ice have appeared since early times, recorded in the oral traditions of indigenous communities, as well as the writings of the first European settlers. Many witnesses describe elongated forms gliding beneath the frigid water, sometimes marked by patches of ice clinging to their bodies. From a scientific standpoint, such phenomena are partly explained by the movement of coalescing ice sheets, hidden currents, or the sudden appearance of large, cold-adapted fish, such as sturgeon. However, the fact that many local witnesses, often with deep experience of the land, insist on clear differences between what they saw and ordinary animals has provided motivation for in-depth studies into the possible existence of ancient species not yet described by modern science. In Japan, along the snowy northern mountains and deep lakes surrounding Hokkaido, legends of the Yuki Onna have been passed down through generations. In the form of a human-like entity capable of appearing during snowstorms, Yuki Onna has become a symbol of the dangers hidden within a harsh environment. The belief in Yuki Onna, existing in parallel with the local community, has led to the development of precautionary rituals and strict rules for traveling during adverse weather. This is a prime example of how social behavior is shaped by direct observation and beliefs about phenomena that cannot yet be explained scientifically. Meanwhile, in the cold southern seas of Japan, there have been accounts of the Ningen, a massive, unidentified sea creature. These reports come from fisheries, researchers, and even some satellite imagery, in which the Ningen is described as large, pale white, and moving slowly beneath the water near the edge of the ice. Modern biologists believe that much of the observed data on the Ningen may be related to deep-sea creatures not yet documented, or may be the result of light refraction through layers of ice and cold seawater. Although there is still no definitive evidence for the Ningen's existence, these reports continue to broaden research into the biodiversity of cold marine regions and raise the possibility of undiscovered large animal species living in the deep polar waters. From a scientific perspective, stories of monsters on glacial rivers and frozen lakes illustrate the interplay between the distinctive natural environment and the psychological structure of local societies. The harshness of the climate itself has allowed these legends to persist over time, becoming material for studies of human behavior, ecological adaptation, and the potential discovery of new species in the world's coldest regions. Archaeological and prehistoric discoveries beneath the ice. Fossils collected from ancient geological strata have provided definitive evidence for the existence of much warmer climatic periods in areas that are now covered by ice or considered temperate zones. The traces found in sedimentary rocks from petrified forests to the bones of large animals document an era when the biosphere flourished with exceptional biodiversity. In areas once close to the North Pole, fossils of large trees, fern leaves, and tropical pollen are found side by side with the bones of herbivores and carnivores, both warm and cold-blooded. This distribution of fossils proves that the climate at high latitudes was once warm enough to support dense forests, jungles, and vast grasslands. Analysis of growth rings on petrified trees shows that long warm seasons and extended daylight made it possible for plants to photosynthesize for many months each year. Beneath today's ice, many large animal fossils, mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, giant deer, ancient bears, cave lions, and even massive marine reptiles have been found in the same strata, attesting to the existence of a gigantic fauna adapted to abundant environments. Fossilized teeth and bones of ancient predators, such as armored fish, giant crocodiles, titanous birds, marine lizards, and prehistoric bears, clearly display the body structures and adaptations necessary for a food chain with numerous large prey species. The remains of massive herbivores from the same period are often found alongside diverse fossilized plants, including ancient grasses, shrubs, conifers, and ferns, indicating a tight correlation between stable, warmer climates and the rise of large animal populations. The abundance of pollen, fossilized insect marks, spores, as well as fossils of corals and invertebrates from shallow seas, further proves the expansion of inland seas and subtropical climates north and south of today's boundaries. Fossils of ancient sharks, large bony fish, armored fish, marine reptiles, aquatic mammals, and flightless birds all show individuals of far greater size than their modern counterparts. This reflects the richness of food sources, the profusion of animal migrations, and the stability of ecosystems where giant animals could reach their maximum size in optimal conditions. Isotope analysis, fossilized soil samples, and paleoclimate records preserved in sediments reveal that average temperatures in prehistoric times were often higher than today. The presence of successive fossil layers also helps reconstruct the transitions between warm and cold climatic phases, as well as the serial extinctions of large animals when environmental conditions shifted rapidly. As a result, fossil data not only confirm that Earth's climate has gone through many much warmer periods, but also reveal the dynamic, diverse ecosystem structures where giant animals and top predators once held dominant roles in the world's food webs. Melting ice reveals sites and ancient artifacts. Melting ice in the high mountains of Mongolia, the Alps of Europe, and many other locations has ushered in a new era for field archaeology. As global climate change accelerates, ancient permafrost and snow accumulations built up over thousands of years are receding, exposing layers of material once buried from view. In these frigid conditions, organic samples such as wood, woven fabric, leather, animal fur, bones, human remains, and a variety of metal, stone, and horn artifacts have survived intact, little affected by microorganisms or environmental decay. In Mongolia, recent surveys have uncovered numerous sites on the steppe, including arrowheads, spear tips, herding tools, animal remains, and even fragments of saddles, harnesses, and the earliest traces of prehistoric horsemanship. This network of sites provides practical evidence for the development of nomadic communities, animal domestication techniques, and the ways people took advantage of the cold climate for food preservation and storage. In the Alps, melting ice has brought to light many artifacts dating from the Bronze and Iron Ages through to the medieval period. Finds such as bark pouches, bows and arrows, copper axes, footwear, fur coats, human remains, and fragments of hand-woven textiles reflect movement across valleys, ancient trade routes, and the exchange of technologies and culture among different groups. The most remarkable specimen is the ice mummy Otzi, preserved along with his daily tools, providing opportunities for analysis of ancient technology, diet, genetics, and disease. The process of ice melt not only allows archaeologists to access sites never previously excavated, but also introduces new challenges for preservation. Organic materials that had remained stable in icy conditions quickly begin to decay when exposed to air, bacteria, sunlight, and sudden changes in humidity or temperature. Artifacts such as large animal carcasses, clothing, wooden tools, or tanned leather can lose their form or scientific value within days if not properly handled. Theft, unauthorized excavation, and tourists collecting artifacts also contribute to the loss or irreversible damage of valuable specimens. Faced with the pressures of climate change and ever-accelerating ice melt, research groups and international conservation organizations have developed rapid response strategies, prioritizing the collection, documentation, and protection of sites before artifacts lose their research value. Technologies such as satellite imaging, drones, portable sample analysis, and on-site conservation techniques are being deployed to maximize efficiency and minimize risk during data collection. Through these new discoveries, archaeology is not only gathering unique evidence about ancient technology, lifestyles, and trade, but also helping to shape preservation strategies to address the growing challenges posed by global climate change. The lost city of Nan Madol. The city of Nan Madol is located on a coral reef off the coast of Pohnpei Island in Micronesia and stands as one of the largest ancient stone constructions in the Pacific. The city comprises hundreds of stacked stone structures, spread across more than a dozen artificial islets connected by canals, forming a complex urban system in the middle of the sea. What makes Nan Madol truly remarkable is the use of basalt blocks weighing up to several dozen tons each, the transportation and assembly of which remain inexplicable by current knowledge. Archaeologists have estimated the total mass of stone in the complex to exceed 750,000 tons. Though no traces of specific tools or techniques have been found, structural analyses reveal that the walls and buildings were constructed with a high degree of positional and architectural precision. The origins and exact date of Nan Madol's construction remain unclear. Most surveys date the primary stonework from the 13th to the 17th centuries, though evidence of earlier settlement may extend back several centuries before that. Local tradition tells of two mythological figures credited with founding the city, but archaeological evidence suggests that Nan Madol was the product of many generations, marked by continuous expansion and organizational development. Despite being a major archaeological landmark, Nan Madol remains a great mystery. Most questions regarding construction, technology, social organization, and the city's ultimate purpose remain unresolved. Today, few people know about or visit Nan Madol due to its remote location, difficult access, and both natural and cultural preservation concerns. It is regarded as one of the most important archaeological sites in the Pacific, yet there are still many facets that have yet to be explored. The return of mysterious monoliths. In recent years, the sudden reappearance of mysterious metal monoliths has become a global phenomenon. Beginning in late 2020, a metallic monolith was discovered in the Red Rock Desert of Utah, USA. Not long after, similar structures appeared in California, Romania, and by 2024, a new case was reported in Wales, United Kingdom. All shared the same form: tall, vertical pillars about 3 meters high, with smooth, gleaming surfaces placed in remote or inaccessible locations. A common feature in these cases is that the discoverers typically found no evidence of transportation, no tire tracks, footprints, or traces of tools around the sites. This puzzling absence quickly made the monoliths a hot topic on social media. Many have speculated about advanced technologies or possible extraterrestrial involvement. Since the first discovery in Utah, and throughout subsequent cases, no individual or organization has claimed responsibility for installing or explaining the true origins of these monoliths. Theories range from elaborate art pranks to signals from alien civilizations, but all remain purely speculative. Researchers continue to monitor the phenomenon, seeking answers about the purpose, method, and other factors behind the sudden, synchronized appearance of these metallic objects across the world. The monolith mystery remains one of the most captivating subjects for the media, the scientific community, and the general public alike. Magonia. Magonia is a phenomenon documented in medieval European historical records, most notably in the writings of Agobard of Lyon in the 9th century. According to legends passed down in France and neighboring regions, Magonia was described as a kingdom that lay above the clouds, a civilization believed to be entirely separate from the world below. In popular folklore, the people of Magonia traveled in flying ships and were sometimes seen appearing in the sky, allegedly to intervene in the affairs of those living on the ground. Records claim that cloud pirates from Magonia not only caused extreme weather events such as storms and heavy rains, but also carried out raids to steal crops and valuables from the people below. Some versions of the legend describe the capture of cloud sailors, individuals accused of having fallen from these flying ships and detained by villagers as evidence of the kingdom's existence. In his work, Agobard emphasized the absurdity of these stories, aiming to challenge the widespread superstitions of his era while also documenting society's response to unusual weather phenomena that people were unable to explain scientifically. Today, Magonia remains a topic of interest in the fields of intellectual history, folk religion, and even UFO studies. The image of a kingdom in the clouds reflects both the limitations of medieval knowledge and the human need to explain natural phenomena that remained mysterious at the time. Descriptions of flying ships, sky pirates, and this otherworldly realm illustrate the interplay between folklore, mythology, and the early development of theories about worlds beyond our own in the worldview of ancient Europeans. The treasure of the Esperanza ship. From a research perspective, the story of the Esperanza treasure at Palmyra Atoll raises numerous unresolved questions about the history of piracy and the transmission of material heritage across the Pacific in the early 19th century. According to archival records, the Esperanza was a Spanish pirate vessel that met disaster in 1816 after departing from the port of Peru with a large cargo of gold, silver, and artifacts seized from local temples. The ship sank on the western reef of Palmyra under adverse weather conditions and armed conflict, the precise cause of which remains unclear. After the wreck, sources describe how the survivors concealed the treasure on the island. Various accounts mention that the remaining crew buried much of the gold and silver in an unknown location while awaiting rescue. Their journey logs record numerous deaths due to harsh conditions and disappearances following failed attempts to leave the island. Some 19th and early 20th century documents note testimonies from the last surviving witnesses about the existence of an undiscovered hoard, but no expedition has yet uncovered definitive physical traces on the ground. The ongoing mystery of the Esperanza treasure raises questions about the fate of pirate legacies in the Pacific and the oral transmission of legends related to remote islands. It also highlights the blurred line between historical data and folklore in marine archaeology. To this day, efforts to verify the location or current state of the treasure have yielded no concrete results, leaving one of the enduring mysteries about the disappearance of both material wealth and witnesses on the deserted island of Palmyra. The Metal Library in the Thoas Cave. In South American archaeology, the tale of the Metal Library in Ecuador's Thoas Cave has become a prominent topic, attracting opposing viewpoints among historians, archaeologists, and proponents of ancient alien theories. According to sources emerging in the 20th century, several explorers, most notably Janos I Moric, claimed to have discovered a cache of inscribed gold or metal plates inside the Thoas cave system. These plates were said to form books inscribed with ancient characters of unknown origin. Descriptions of the library detail that the entire collection of books was crafted from metal, set on stone shelves deep underground, alongside various figurines and structures possibly holding religious or cultural significance. Some have argued that these constitute material evidence for a prehistoric civilization or extraterrestrial intervention in human history. However, there has never been an official archaeological report confirming the library's existence or providing scientific documentation of any related artifacts. The precise location of the Metal Library cave remains a mystery, with no independent research team having verified the details presented in initial accounts. As such, the story of the Thoas Metal Library remains a legend, yet it has sparked waves of field searches, scholarly debate, and speculation about the possible existence of unknown cultural legacies in human history. Most scientific data still rely on oral traditions and anecdotal accounts, insufficient for verification, but they continue to highlight the boundaries of modern archaeology in explaining unusual phenomena in South America. Discovery of strange ice and salt forms on Jupiter's moons. Observations from space telescopes and flyby probes have revealed the presence of ice and salt structures with chemical compositions and physical properties unlike any samples found on Earth. On Europa, one of Jupiter's 4 major moons, spectroscopic data show bright streaks alternating with reddish-orange regions, identified as traces of crystalline salt ice formed under higher pressures and lower temperatures than any natural setting on Earth. Remote absorption spectroscopy allows the identification of hydrated salts such as magnesium sulfate, sodium chloride, and several other salts whose crystal structures remain unknown. These compounds form only when water interacts with the unique chemical makeup of the subsurface ocean beneath Europa's thick ice. Under such high pressures, water ice on Europa doesn't just take on the familiar hexagonal form, but also transitions to crystal phases 2, V, and V, which are characteristic of super cold, heavily compressed environments. Some salts dissolved in the subsurface ocean can crystallize with the ice, creating solid mixed networks that retain metal ions, sulfur, chlorine, and complex organic molecules. Data from the Galileo spacecraft and, more recently, the James Webb Space Telescope confirm that salty ice forms are present not only on Europa but also on Ganymede and Callisto, with their composition reflecting the evolutionary history, internal chemistry, and the effects of Jupiter's powerful magnetic field on each moon. These salty ices melt at lower temperatures than pure water ice, suggesting that liquid environments may persist below the surface for extended periods, enabling chemical transformations and the dynamic movement of the ice shell. No extraterrestrial samples have yet been collected directly. All data are based on spectroscopy, optical imaging, and laboratory simulations of salt ice under pressures and temperatures comparable to those of outer planetary environments. To date, no completely analogous material has been identified in Earth's natural cold regions, indicating that extraterrestrial geochemical processes may produce unique structures independent of familiar terrestrial cycles. This discovery provides a foundation for evaluating the potential existence of salty subsurface oceans beneath thick ice on Jupiter's major moons, broadening the search for life and the investigation of geochemical processes in extraterrestrial environments. The tale of the mysterious creature in the Chena River. Mysterious creatures sighted in the rivers, lakes, and offshore waters of the far north have become the subject of interdisciplinary study among biologists, climatologists, and archaeologists. One such case occurred on Alaska's Chena River, where footage of an unusually long object moving across the water in 2016 sparked scientific debate. Video analysis showed the object moving with a wave-like motion, its body covered in patches of ice, making it difficult to distinguish between a living creature and a drifting ice structure. Some zoologists concluded it was likely just ice flowing with the cold current, shaped by water movement and temperature. However, the inability to definitively identify the object has kept open hypotheses about a surviving prehistoric species or an as-yet unrecognized animal, which continue to be referenced in local reports. Along the coasts of British Columbia and Alaska, the story of Caddy, or Cadborosaurus wilsey, has persisted since the 1930s through numerous reports by fishermen and local residents. Direct observations describe Caddy as resembling ancient marine reptiles with a long body, dorsal fins, and undulating movement in the cold northern seas. Some specimens were identified as washed-up carcasses or juveniles, but none has been definitively confirmed by international zoological organizations. In many instances, the remains prove to be large fish, seals, or decomposed marine animals, yet unexplained features continue to fuel speculation about unidentified species in the North Pacific. In Antarctica, reports of mysterious sea creatures come mainly from expeditions, research vessels, and crews stationed at polar scientific bases. Occasional sightings describe large objects on or beneath thin ice, with elongated bodies moving with the ocean's currents, possibly soft-bodied animals or large marine creatures. Image data remain insufficient for biological classification, and in many cases, the sightings are attributed to floating ice or decaying whale carcasses. Even so, the frigid, nutrient-rich, deep waters of the polar regions provide habitats for large, isolated species, particularly in areas not yet fully explored. All reports regarding unidentified creatures in glacial rivers, freshwater lakes, and the polar seas remain at the level of initial observation, lacking enough evidence to classify or name a new species. Proper analysis requires image data, physical samples, environmental DNA testing, and comparison with existing records of both modern and ancient marine life before scientific conclusions can be drawn about the origins, biology, and potential existence of such mysterious creatures in the extreme polar environment. Research on ancient Antarctic ice. Ancient ice samples collected from Antarctica act as a natural archive, providing critical data on the geological, climatic, and material history of Earth over millions of years. While drilling deep into the ice layers, scientists have detected the presence of gyrosite, a rare mineral formed under special conditions involving water, acids, and sulfate compounds. Previously, gyrosite was mainly identified in industrial waste sites or continental ore deposits, and it had never been observed in the Antarctic permafrost. The discovery of gyrosite in deep Antarctic ice cores has broadened research on the mineral's formation. Analysis shows that gyrosite forms when iron-rich mineral dust becomes buried in the ice and undergoes slow chemical decomposition under low temperatures, mildly acidic environments, and the movement of small water molecules through the ice structure. Its presence reflects episodes of climatic change and material transfer across the Antarctic surface in the distant past. This finding also has implications for planetary science, as gyrosite has been documented on the surface of Mars by NASA's robotic explorers. On Mars, gyrosite primarily appears in depressions areas once covered by liquid water and now home to large, sulfate-rich mineral deposits. The mineral structure and formation conditions are believed to be similar on both planets, especially since Mars underwent cycles of cold, dry glaciation alternating with wetter periods, much like Earth's ice ages. Comparing the chemical makeup and crystal structure of Antarctic gyrosite with extraterrestrial samples has helped clarify processes of transport, precipitation, and transformation of materials in extreme environments. This research also strengthens the hypothesis that some Martian minerals formed from the breakdown of buried dust within ice or water-rich sediments, not merely as products of flowing surface water. Such findings lay the groundwork for expanded glacial simulation studies on Earth, deepening our understanding of climate history, water cycles, and the potential for life on planets with similarly extreme conditions. The fart god of the Innu. Within the traditional belief system of the Innu people, indigenous to the Quebec region, there exists a unique religious phenomenon known as the fart god, or Maish Kapap. For the Innu community, both natural and physiological occurrences are linked to supernatural entities, reflecting a worldview in which every event carries a particular significance. According to ethnographic records, Maish Kapap is not merely a humorous figure in daily life, but also acts as a messenger from the spiritual realm. The Innu believe that every occurrence of this phenomenon can serve as a sign from the gods, bringing messages or warnings connected to life, hunting, or important events within the community. Some accounts describe the appearance of the fart god as a signal that requires interpretation, often demanding concentration and careful listening to decipher the intended message. Researchers suggest that the belief in Maish Kapap reflects the polytheistic character of Innu spirituality, where deities connected to daily life occupy important roles in the collective consciousness. According to some legends, the fart god can even influence the luck of hunters or determine the outcome of significant community events. As a result, whenever a sign from Maish Kapap appears, the community seeks to interpret its meaning to adjust their actions, be it hunting, agriculture, or ceremonial practices. The existence of Maish Kapap demonstrates how the Innu explain the world by imbuing ordinary phenomena with sacred meaning. This also exemplifies the diversity of indigenous North American belief systems, in which even the smallest natural occurrences can become part of spiritual life, woven into community culture across generations. The Kingdom of Reged and King Arthur. Archaeological discoveries at Trusty Hill in Galloway have provided scientific support for the existence of the Kingdom of Reged, a polity previously known only through epic poetry and Arthurian legend in England and Scotland. At the hilltop site, researchers uncovered fortification walls, defensive architecture, and artifacts linked to community life during the post-Roman era. Analyses of building materials, cultural soil layers, plant samples, and domestic remains indicate that this was once a genuine center of power, home to an organized ruling class with substantial regional influence. These new findings allow scholars to link archaeological data with literary records such as the Book of Taliesin, which describes Reged as a kingdom rich in warrior tradition, and directly associated with legendary figures like King Urien, Morgan Le Fay, and indirectly with the Arthurian cycle. This discovery not only affirms Reged's historical presence, but also clarifies the relationship between actual history and the storylines of ancient British legend. Through this, the archaeological work at Trusty Hill opens the possibility of verifying the obscure corners of the Anglo-Scottish borderlands past, while strengthening the hypothesis that Arthurian mythology actually contains many details rooted in history, rather than simply being products of literary folklore. Identifying the center of Reged also lays a foundation for further research into the formation of political and social power in early medieval Britain. Sator Square. The Sator Square is a remarkable archaeological phenomenon, found at sites across Europe and the Mediterranean, dating from ancient Roman times through the Middle Ages. This square is made up of 5 rows and 5 columns of letters, forming the words Sator, Arkansas, Epio, Tenet, Opera, and Rotas. These words are arranged symmetrically, allowing them to be read forward or backward, horizontally or vertically, while retaining the same structure, a unique form of multidimensional palindrome. The earliest discovery of the Sator Square was recorded on the city walls of Pompeii, dating to before 79 AD. Additional examples have been found at many sites in Italy, England, France, Syria, and North Africa, demonstrating its wide geographic spread and enduring influence across time and space. The square appears not only carved into house and church walls, but also on stone slabs, pottery, and personal items, such as amulets. Despite centuries of research, the true meaning of the Sator Square remains elusive. Some theories suggest it was a protective charm used in religious rituals or a cryptic code hiding a secret message. Another line of inquiry relies on Latin vocabulary and grammar, proposing translations such as, "The sower keeps the wheels working with care." However, there is no archaeological or textual evidence confirming the function or specific purpose of the square. The Sator Square has also been associated with various religious groups, particularly medieval secret societies, where it was regarded as a talisman against evil or disease. Yet there are no consistent records of its symbolic meaning or use in particular social or cultural contexts. The widespread and consistent structure of the Sator Square raises questions about how cultural symbols are transmitted, received, and adapted throughout human history. Scientifically, the Sator Square stands as a prime example of cross-cultural semiotic phenomena, reflecting the ability to preserve, transform, and transmit information over generations without losing structural integrity. Research continues in pursuit of the square's origins, real function, and the reasons it has become such an enduring symbol throughout the memory of human civilization. Mysterious ancestors in human DNA. The discovery of strange genetic sequences in the modern human genome is opening new avenues for the study of human evolution. Large-scale genome decoding projects have shown that, beyond traces of Neanderthal and Denisovan ancestry, a small percentage of modern human DNA displays characteristics not matching any previously known archaic human groups. Genetic research indicates that certain DNA sequences in present-day African populations originate from an ancient lineage of humans never identified through fossil or archaeological evidence. The most widely accepted theory is that, before Homo sapiens migrated out of Africa, there was interbreeding with another group from the Homo genus, possibly Homo erectus or an as-yet unknown subspecies. This conclusion is based on ancient gene fragments dating back nearly 1 million years, present in modern human DNA, but absent in populations outside Africa. The results of genetic analysis reveal that interbreeding between different human groups was far more common than previously believed. This has contributed to the diverse genetic landscape of humanity today. However, without fossils or direct archaeological evidence for this mysterious lineage, their exact nature and role in human evolution remain unclear. The identification of previously unknown genetic sequences raises many questions about our evolutionary history and the possibility of early human lineages that became extinct long ago. These DNA segments have become crucial clues for scientists working to unravel humanity's distant past, broadening our understanding of genetic diversity and the ancient interactions between different groups that once inhabited Earth. The mysterious circles on grasslands. Grassland circles have been recorded in England since the 17th century and gradually spread to many other regions around the world in modern times. These circles are usually large in size, with precise lines and complex geometric structures, sometimes forming sequences or groupings of designs that are difficult to explain. In most cases, the circles are only discovered when viewed from above, allowing the full overall shape to be recognized. Scientifically, there is still no unified explanation for the mechanism behind the formation of these circles. Some theories focus on the influence of natural elements, such as wind, small whirlwinds, or abnormal plant growth due to environmental changes. However, experimental evidence remains limited, and current theories cannot fully account for the regularity, repetition, and increasing complexity of the designs over time. Alongside these, other hypotheses suggest that the phenomenon could be related to the effects of electromagnetic waves, atmospheric plasma, or other physical phenomena that have not yet been thoroughly documented. In certain cases, researchers have also observed changes in the cellular structure of plants within the circles compared to those in the surrounding area, though no specific cause has been determined. In addition to scientific studies, grassland circles are also closely associated with many fringe theories, such as traces of unidentified flying objects or products of mysterious or artistic human activities. While many cases have been verified as man-made, there are still a significant number for which no clear explanation exists, making this topic a continuing subject of interdisciplinary research in physics, biology, and archaeology. The grassland circle phenomenon continues to attract interest from both the scientific community and the public, opening up new avenues of research into the interaction between environment, biology, and unidentified factors in nature. Anomalous phenomena. Anomalous phenomena recorded in the northern icy regions, such as large footprints in Alaska, strange carcasses in Siberian diamond mines, or videos of supposed alien creatures in the snow near Irkutsk, have all captured the attention of field sciences and paleobiology. The large footprints found in the snow of Katmai National Park are often described as having clear shapes, with lengths surpassing those of any known native animal and measuring up to several dozen centimeters. Biologists have analyzed their morphology, comparing them with tracks of brown bears, wolves, and large primates, but have not been able to identify their source in the absence of supplementary evidence such as fur, tissue, or continuous photographic documentation from the scene. In the fields of paleontology and applied zoology, strange animal remains found in the permafrost layers of Siberian diamond mines present a major challenge for biological classification. These specimens are often found in good condition due to the freezing environment, with soft tissues, fur, or skin preserved intact. After conducting tissue, DNA, and anatomical analyses, many of the samples have been identified as modern animals such as wolverines or morphologically variant carnivores altered by natural conditions, or as Ice Age fossils. However, there remain instances in which DNA sequences do not completely match existing databases, giving rise to hypotheses about previously existing subspecies that are now extinct or not yet officially documented. With regard to controversial video clips of supposed extraterrestrial creatures in the snow, such as the footage from the outskirts of Irkutsk, researchers have examined image sequences, analyzed materials, movement, and anatomical structure. Most findings indicate signs of fabrication, with organic materials like animal hide or gel used to create artificial forms. Analysis in these cases focuses on identifying anatomical features inconsistent with living organisms and the absence of any unique genetic or biological samples distinct from known local species. In summary, these anomalous phenomena from the far north provide a diverse dataset for natural and archaeological sciences, but to date, none has yielded sufficient evidence to confirm the existence of entirely new or extraterrestrial life forms. Most records can be explained using existing data from zoology, paleontology, digital analysis, and molecular biochemistry, though unresolved questions persist due to limited samples or difficulties with in-field verification. Archaeology of ancient human remains. Archaeological discoveries of ancient human remains in icy regions have expanded our understanding of the cultural and biological development of humanity in extreme cold environments. The Otzi mummy, found in 1991 at the edge of the Alps, is a case of natural preservation under ice and snow for more than 5,000 years. This specimen provides data on the morphology, health, diet, and tool-making techniques of early Bronze Age humans. Analysis of wounds, blood, metal content, and associated artifacts like copper axes and clothing fragments shows that Otzi experienced violent conflict and belonged to a high-status group in ancient society. Isotope analysis has enabled researchers to trace the origin of materials and map Otzi's travels across different regions. In Alaska, the discovery of whalebone masks at coastal settlement sites in the Aleutian Islands is evidence of the use of large marine animal materials in rituals and daily life about 3,000 years ago. Surveys show that whalebone crafting reached a high degree of precision, playing a role in both local ceremonies and folklore. The masks have been well preserved thanks to permafrost and deep cold soil, providing valuable insight into the culture and living conditions of prehistoric peoples in the Arctic. Sites revealed by melting ice in the Alps and other high mountains of Europe in recent years have produced chains of evidence for human activity from the Stone Age through the Bronze Age. Items found, such as bows and arrows, blades, textile fragments, hunting tools, and animal remains, have shed light on migration patterns, livelihoods, adaptation strategies to cold climates, and the development of tool-making techniques. Many organic materials, wood, leather, plant fibers have been preserved in ice, enabling researchers to reconstruct daily activities, survival strategies, and the spread of culture through generations of ancient inhabitants. Combined data from cold region archaeology, isotope research, DNA sequencing, morphology, and microanalysis have provided an interdisciplinary perspective on evolution, social organization, environmental change, and the adaptability of humans in the face of harsh climatic fluctuations throughout history. Could humans evolve to become venomous? Recent advances in genetics have shed light on humanity's evolutionary potential, including the possibility of developing venom glands. According to research by scientists at the Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology, the evolution of venom in animals is not exclusive to reptiles. Deep analysis of human and mammalian genomes has revealed several genetic sequences similar to those that control venom protein production in snakes. In snakes, these genes are concentrated in the salivary glands, which over millions of years evolved into venom glands. allowing snakes to synthesize and store special chemical compounds capable of paralyzing or killing prey. In humans, foundational genes for this system remain present in the salivary glands. While they have not developed into a full-fledged venom system, it is theoretically possible that under intense selective pressures, such as extreme environmental changes or competition for survival evolution, could activate these genes for stronger expression. Specifically, researchers found that human saliva contains proteins involved in enzyme regulation and cell protection, similar to the precursor proteins of snake venom. In other mammals, such as certain rodents, scientists have observed gene changes that can evolve into venom glands if exposed to changing environmental conditions over long periods. This process would not occur suddenly, but would require thousands of years or longer for beneficial genetic mutations to accumulate and for new traits to be favored by strong selective pressures. This illustrates that evolution is a continuous process, and the genetic traits within the human genome can still be activated and altered in response to environmental needs. Although humans today do not have venom glands or secrete toxic compounds from their saliva, the genetic capacity for such evolution still exists in our genome. This opens up new directions for research on biodiversity and demonstrates that humans and other mammals may harbor hidden adaptive abilities that could be triggered by dramatic changes in nature over tens of thousands of years come. Discoveries of artifacts and historical traces. Archaeological studies in the icy regions of Europe and Northern Asia have yielded many important findings of artifacts and historical traces from ancient communities that once lived in cold environments. Each object discovered serves as direct evidence of the technology, way of life, and migration of prehistoric human groups. The copper axe found with the Otzi mummy in the Alps stands as a testament to the transitional phase between the Stone Age and the Bronze Age in Europe. This artifact was crafted from copper with a low impurity content, demonstrating early mastery of metal smelting techniques. Wear patterns and cutting marks on the axe blade indicate prolonged use, while lead and copper isotope analysis reveals that the ore originated far from the site where Otzi was discovered, providing insight into long-distance resource exchange networks between distant regions. Birch bark bags from the Bronze Age, often found at thawing ice sites in the Alps and nearby areas, offer evidence of organic material working techniques used by early hunter-gatherers and pastoralists. Microanalysis and isotope studies show that these bags were used to carry small tools, flint fragments, natural dyes, and items for medicine or magic. Their woven and braided construction demonstrates the development of handicraft skills and adaptation to cold climates, allowing for the preservation of supplies and food in prolonged snowy conditions. Hunting implements, such as arrowheads, stone knives, and bone sickles, are often found in remarkably complete condition within frozen archaeological sites. The morphology of these arrowheads reflects adaptation to different prey and varied terrains. Analysis of their composition and manufacturing techniques shows evidence of technological transfer from migrating groups to settled communities. Some arrow and spear points bear traces of multiple repairs, suggesting long-term use and frequent travel through mountainous terrain. Ancient migration evidence is further supported by radiocarbon dating, analysis of ancient DNA from skeletal remains, and biological materials preserved in ice. These data confirm migratory flows along a north-south axis through mountain ranges or thawing valleys at the end of the last ice age. DNA traces, skeletal morphology, and technological similarities across distant regions reflect connections between communities and their adaptation to extended cold climates. Synthesizing these discoveries of artifacts and historical traces under icy conditions has significantly contributed to our understanding of ancient technologies, social organization, survival strategies, and migration networks of early humans. Multidisciplinary research findings have broadened our knowledge of how civilization developed in some of the harshest environments in human history. The mysteries of crystal skulls. Crystal skulls have long attracted the special attention of both archaeologists and the public because of theories claiming they are relics of extraterrestrial civilizations or products of unknown prehistoric cultures. For decades, these crystal skulls were believed to originate from the Maya or Aztec periods, accompanied by legends about their power to store intelligence or supernatural energy, and even as evidence of alien intervention. However, modern scientific research has shown that most of the famous crystal skulls were crafted in the 19th century, during the boom of archaeology and collecting in Europe, especially in England and France. Analysis of cut marks, surface structure, and material composition demonstrates that these skulls were produced with modern mechanical grinding and cutting tools, high-speed rotary devices that only became available in the industrial era. Furthermore, investigations by the British Museum and the Smithsonian Institution agree that no crystal skull has ever been discovered through proper archaeological excavation in Central America. The majority of specimens held in museums or private collections have unclear origins, many having been created by antiquities dealers to sell to European collectors in the 19th century. Thus, while crystal skulls maintain a unique status in popular culture and in theories about mysterious civilizations, current scientific evidence confirms that most are products of the Victorian era, unconnected to ancient civilizations or extraterrestrials as previously imagined. The hypothesis of Atlantis under Antarctica. In the fields of geology and ancient history, the hypothesis of Atlantis existing beneath Antarctic ice has long been the subject of debate. In the early 20th century, geologist Charles Hapgood proposed the theory of Earth crust displacement, suggesting that the planet's outer crust may once have slid over the semi-liquid mantle beneath, causing dramatic shifts in the position of continents in a relatively short geological time. Hapgood cited ancient documents and nautical charts, such as the Piri-Reis map, arguing that Antarctica was not always at the pole, but may once have been at lower latitudes with a temperate climate favorable to the development of civilization. The Piri-Reis map is among the main documents referenced in this theory. Drawn in 1513 by Ottoman Admiral Piri-Reis, the map depicts part of the South Atlantic coastline with details that some researchers believe resemble the shape of Antarctica's coast before it was covered by ice. Hapgood argued that the map was based on older sources documenting coastlines before the continent became icebound. He posited that if the map is accurate, Antarctica might once have been located near the equator and could have hosted a prehistoric, advanced civilization, possibly the origin of the Atlantis legend. Hapgood's theory of polar shift was based on physical calculations about asymmetric movement of the Earth's crust due to uneven mass distribution, combined with archaeological data on ancient sites now covered by ice or submerged. According to this model, major crustal shifts could have occurred around 12,000 years ago, pushing Antarctica to its current location and burying evidence of any real civilization. Modern studies of climate history, ancient Antarctic ice, and stratigraphic analysis have recorded significant changes in the ice sheet during recent geological periods, but no direct geological or archaeological evidence has yet been found to confirm the existence of a great prehistoric civilization in Antarctica. Although Hapgood's theory and sources like the Piri-Reis map continue to inspire research and debate, the modern scientific community mainly regards this as an interesting historical hypothesis, lacking solid empirical support. Efforts to decode Antarctica's climate past and investigate the possibility of large-scale crustal movements are ongoing, aided by geophysical methods and modern ice core analysis, helping to complete the picture of global paleogeographic changes. Glastonbury Tor. Glastonbury Tor is a prominent hill in Somerset, long associated with legends of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. For centuries, this site has attracted the attention of historians and archaeologists, with some suggesting it could be the final resting place of King Arthur, the central figure in British folklore. Records from the 12th century state that, in 1191, monks at Glastonbury Abbey announced the discovery of an ancient grave and 2 coffins believed to belong to King Arthur and Queen Guinevere within the monastery grounds near the foot of Glastonbury Tor. This event quickly spread and was widely accepted, turning the location into a pilgrimage center forever linked to the Arthurian legend. However, modern archaeological research shows that evidence for this tomb remains highly contested. Most excavated artifacts date from the medieval period, not aligning with the timeline of Arthurian tales. Some historians believe the discovery was actually a deliberate attempt to attract pilgrims and increase abbey revenues during a time of economic hardship in the 12th century. Excavations also revealed traces of religious structures from the Roman and post-Roman periods at the Tor, reflecting its sacred role over many centuries. To this day, however, no material evidence has definitively confirmed Glastonbury Tor as the genuine tomb of King Arthur. The whole story remains balanced between legend and history, raising many questions for both the scientific community and those interested in the mysteries of medieval England. The Black Knight. The legend of the Black Knight began to appear in Europe in the 13th century, when medieval folklore and epic poetry mentioned a group of figures clad in black armor, their identities concealed, operating outside royal and ecclesiastical power. These Black Knights are often described as individuals or bands, appearing precisely during times of social unrest when lords or kings abuse their power and cause harm to the people. They protected communities from oppression, stood up against injustice, or defended righteousness against ruling powers. Some legends tell of figures like Asher, nicknamed the Kingslayer, who fought in battles between monarchs and even against supernatural forces, according to some tales. Many stories emphasize the Black Knight's actions as symbolic of justice, unbound by lineage or worldly authority. Historical sources show that the Black Knight legend does not originate from any single historical figure, but grew out of social psychology and political upheaval in the Middle Ages. As traditional structures weakened, the belief in anonymous individuals rising to restore order spread through generations. The Church even sought to suppress these stories by prohibiting their transmission or recording, yet the legend continued to flourish across Europe. Over time, the image of the Black Knight has been reimagined in literature, art, and later epics. Each era has added new elements, enriching the legend. In many European countries, the Black Knight has become a symbol of unofficial justice, transcending the limits of traditional law. The enduring presence of the Black Knight legend over centuries reflects a community's longing for a protector in times of instability, demonstrating the powerful life of collective symbols within the spiritual world of humanity. Theories of hidden extraterrestrial technology beneath the Arctic. In the context of polar research and national security, some unofficial reports from Russian military groups have mentioned unidentified objects moving beneath the thick ice of the Arctic. These accounts primarily surfaced during reconnaissance, monitoring, or training missions in ice-covered waters near the North Pole, where harsh environmental conditions pose major obstacles to direct observation and data analysis. According to the published details, some military officers described sonar, radar, or satellite imaging systems detecting unusual signals from objects moving at high speed far beyond the capabilities of known submarines or unmanned underwater vehicles. These objects reportedly do not respond to communication signals, emit no significant thermal radiation, and move at depths covered by solid ice. Some reports claim their speed surpasses that of any conventional military submarine, and that they can change direction abruptly, a feat unmatched by modern underwater craft. As no physical samples or direct images have been collected, the data so far consist only of technical signals picked up during observation. Based on this limited information, some fringe researchers have theorized that these objects could be products of extraterrestrial technology or relics of advanced civilizations that once existed on Earth and are now buried beneath polar ice. They argue that the Arctic, with its inaccessibility and prolonged ice coverage, could serve as a repository for objects or devices that do not belong to current human technology existing in isolation for millennia. Meanwhile, the mainstream perspective of scientists and defense experts remains cautious. Most believe these signals are likely caused by natural phenomena, equipment error, or unidentified floating objects, rather than evidence of non-human technology. Verification in the Arctic remains extremely challenging due to extreme climate, constantly shifting ice, and the vast, nearly inaccessible expanse year-round. To date, no physical evidence has been published to confirm the hypothesis of extraterrestrial technology beneath Arctic ice. Reports of strange objects continue to attract interest from the research community and the media, but the issue remains unresolved, awaiting advances in polar exploration equipment, ice-penetrating radar technology, and high-resolution satellite data analysis in the future. The oldest temple in Abu Dhabi. An ancient architectural site recently discovered on Gaga Island, off the coast of Abu Dhabi, has been identified as the oldest known structure ever found in the Middle East. Experts have dated this site to around 8,500 years ago, making it even older than the previously discovered ruins on Marawa Island. Archaeological evidence reveals that this is a simple stone structure, consisting of low walls and a square foundation, reflecting the early building techniques of coastal hunter-gatherer and fishing communities in the region. Materials recovered at the site include fragments of broken pottery, animal bones, and stone tools, indicating that ancient people here had already developed skills in crafting and lived together in groups. The analysis of animal fossils along with plant remains has allowed researchers to determine that the climate during this period was relatively mild, and Gaga Island was once a resource-rich coastal area, ideal for settlement and the emergence of the first semi-sedentary lifestyles on the Arabian Peninsula. This discovery expands our understanding of how ancient communities formed in the Middle East, providing tangible evidence for theories about ancient waves of coastal migration moving through the Gulf region. Although only the low foundations and traces of primitive materials remain, the structure on Gaga Island holds great significance for regional archaeology, helping to clarify the historical picture of human societal evolution on the Arabian Peninsula in the period following the last ice age. The Woolly Mammoth Genome Study. The study of the woolly mammoth genome offers deep insights into the adaptation mechanisms of ancient animals to the harsh, icy environments of the polar regions. Woolly mammoth specimens unearthed from the Siberian permafrost have preserved their DNA in an almost pristine state. The analysis of complete genomes from several individuals across different time periods reveals a process of genetic evolution that unfolded over hundreds of thousands of years. By comparing the genetic sequences of the woolly mammoth with those of modern Asian and African elephants, scientists have identified unique mutations related to hair structure, thermoregulation, subcutaneous fat storage, lipid metabolism, as well as proteins involved in the body's response to cold. Certain genetic changes controlling the production of keratin and various fibrous proteins resulted in the formation of thick fur, excellent heat retention, and reduced energy loss through the skin. Other genetic adaptations relating to sweat glands, scent secretion, and the regulation of metabolic enzyme activity also contributed to the mammoth's survival in deeply cold conditions. Additionally, genes involved in lipid storage and the enlargement of fat cells supported the mammoth's ability to store energy and protect its internal organs during prolonged periods of low environmental temperatures. The research also found a diversity of immune system genes that helped mammoth populations adapt to specific pathogens common in cold, low-light climates. The process of analyzing ancient genomes has also revealed signs of declining genetic diversity in mammoth populations during the late Pleistocene. As the environment changed rapidly and the population dwindled, harmful mutations became more common, increasing the risk of extinction. Comparisons between ancient and more recent specimens show that the final groups of woolly mammoths had higher rates of genetic errors than those from their peak period. Through the study of their genomes, scientists have not only explained the adaptation and evolutionary capabilities of the woolly mammoth in the context of ancient climate change, but have also gained valuable data for evolutionary biology, animal conservation, and even the revival of extinct species. Understanding the genetic mechanisms of adaptation helps to unravel the story of large-scale population changes in natural history, while also opening new avenues for applying genetic technology to research biodiversity in today's extreme environments. Nap of Hower. Standing isolated on the island of Papa Westray in the Orkney Archipelago, northern Scotland, the Nap of Hower is a stone house complex dating back around 5,700 years. It is recognized as the oldest preserved stone dwelling in northern Europe. The site consists of two large adjoining buildings connected by a low, enclosed passageway. The stone walls are up to 2 meters thick, keeping the interiors thermally stable throughout harsh winters and strong sea winds. The internal arrangement of each house shows a clear division of function. One side was for living and sleeping, while the other was reserved for food storage, toolmaking, and safekeeping. Archaeological evidence shows that the Nap of Hower was continuously inhabited by one or several generations of the same Neolithic farming family. For nearly a millennium, the residents here developed barley cultivation, crop farming, livestock domestication, and seafood harvesting to adapt to the harsh coastal environment. They made full use of local resources such as stone, bone, and shellfish, maximizing every material for daily life, from construction and toolmaking to food preparation. Traces of home repairs and renovations, along with artifacts like pottery, grinding stones, animal bones, shells, and abundant plant remains, have allowed researchers to reconstruct the continuous activities of daily life across generations, demonstrating a stable, sustainable lifestyle with little demographic change. Findings of ancient fence remnants, old stone floors, and multiple sediment layers show that this site was maintained and used for a long time, not only as a place of residence, but also as a small-scale economic and social center for the Neolithic community. The continuous existence of one family line at Nap of Hower for nearly 1,000 years is proof of the high adaptive capacity and social organization of prehistoric coastal communities in Northern Europe. It contributes greatly to our understanding of settlement history, the development of agriculture, and sustainable construction practices amid centuries of climatic and environmental change. Discovery of prehistoric primate fossils in the Arctic. The discovery of prehistoric primate fossils on Ellesmere Island in the Arctic has opened up new avenues of research into the biological adaptations required to survive harsh, high-latitude climates. Fossilized teeth and jawbones have been identified as belonging to two ancient primate species that lived during the Eocene period about 52 million years ago. Anatomical characteristics reveal that this primate group developed several adaptive mechanisms to survive in an environment with 6 months of continuous darkness and year-round low temperatures. Analysis of the microstructure of the teeth confirms an omnivorous diet suited to the scarce and seasonally variable food sources of the subarctic forests. Thick enamel layers and the development of molar teeth enabled them to crush leaves, hard fruits, bark, and even insects, helping primates maintain stable energy reserves during long, cold seasons. Compared with contemporaneous relatives from lower latitudes, the Arctic fossils show trends toward larger teeth, broader cranial vaults, and more robust jaw muscles. The structure of the eye sockets and genetic markers related to circadian rhythms indicate special evolutionary adaptations to extreme light cycles. Large orbital diameters increase the ability to gather dim light, supporting nocturnal activity or functioning under low-light conditions. Genetic changes in the regulation of melatonin hormones allowed primates to adjust their sleep cycles flexibly, coping with the prolonged lack of natural light during Arctic winters. Their ability to maintain stable body temperatures is thought to result from the evolution of a specialized metabolic system. Subcutaneous fat reserves, increased lipid and protein metabolism, and reduced unnecessary energy expenditure all contributed to the primate's survival during periods of food scarcity. Stable isotope analysis of tooth enamel and bone provides further evidence of metabolic adaptations to cold climates and poor nutrition. These findings prove that ancient primate populations once existed in near-polar regions, creating a precedent for the diversification and adaptation of mammal groups during periods of intense global climate change. Furthermore, the study of Arctic primate fossils contributes vital data to evolutionary biology, helping reconstruct models of animal distribution and dispersal during Earth's unusual warm periods in prehistory. Band of Holes, Peru. On the Pisco Plateau, along the western slopes of the San Juan River Valley in southern Peru, there is a long strip containing more than 5,000 small holes arranged in straight rows, stretching nearly a kilometer. Each hole measures about 1 meter in diameter and ranges from 3 to 40 centimeters in depth. They were either dug directly into the rocky ground or built with locally sourced stones. What stands out most is the uniform repetition in the size and shape of the holes, with their orientation and spacing being remarkably consistent. The exact age of the band of holes is still undetermined, but archaeological research based on artifacts found nearby suggests that this structure may have appeared during the pre-Inca period, before the Inca Empire took control of the region. To this day, the purpose and actual function of these holes remain a contentious issue among archaeologists. Some theories propose that it was a system for measuring or distributing agricultural products under an ancient community tax system. Others suggest the holes could have served ritual or religious purposes, or been used for storing surplus food during times of scarcity. Recent surveys using satellite imagery, drones, and field excavations have yet to uncover any special artifacts inside the holes, nor any evidence that they once held human remains or valuable objects. Some have even speculated about possible astronomical connections or the use of the holes as a system for marking territory, but so far there is no compelling evidence to support any of these theories. The Band of Holes remains one of the great archaeological mysteries of the Andes and is a testament to the level of social organization, construction skills, and systematic thinking of ancient South American civilizations before the arrival of Europeans. If you find these mysterious stories fascinating, please leave your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss our next discoveries. See you in the next video.